All right, we got some more drama between Ethan Klein and Hasan, and I'm here to break it all down. Hopefully, I can do it in a level headed manner without getting too, crazy or insulting here. And
That
if
this is an important
you
issue to them.
are against male
Okay. And
nudity,
I'm
I'd recommend turning away right now.
not obvious today. It's really not. And you can tell by the amount of people who, instead of reflecting and wondering if they were doing the wrong or right thing, resorted to attacking me, calling me that I'm playing victim, that I'm making shit up. I've been accused of hallucinating. And this is just gaslighting. I care about racism. I've stood for that very consistently for the past, like, whatever years since the, you know what I mean? Like, obviously I haven't been perfect, but I'm sure trying. Oh, this is nice. And so if you're against racism, you're against all racism or you're not. It's not like a pick and choose adventure. Now, I felt I did a pretty good job of highlighting how Hasan and other members of his community, streamers, have enabled anti-Semitism to be commonplace on Twitch. And essentially, they're obviously...
So one thing here, like, he didn't really do a good job highlighting it. If you go back and watch his original video that occurred last week, his main point of contention was some people commenting on Reddit saying that, like, that guy that Hasan interviewed from Yemen wasn't actually a terrorist, and that's misinformation. And then Ethan goes over multiple clips of Hasan interviewing that guy from Yemen, and then clips of that guy posting stuff on Twitter and basically trying to make out that that guy was a Nazi, not a Nazi, but a terrorist. And then you also have Hasan, like, rolling his eyes when Kamala Harris brings up a sexual assault that happened on October 7th. But Ethan doesn't actually, like, really make good points about why Hasan is breeding anti-Semitism in his community and sending people over to Ethan's way. Ethan can't really make these points succinctly. Essentially, what he did is spend, like, the majority of the episode building up the case that this guy is a Jew-hating terrorist, and then he criticizes Hasan for supporting him and, by extension, the Houthis. Again, like, Ethan needs to be much more succinct in his points here, because what he's trying to do is just build up a general feeling of uneasiness when it comes to Hasan, and these are kind of like unfalsifiable claims that he can make. You don't really have to look much further than what Ethan said at the beginning of that first episode, where he even mentions that Hasan says don't like send any hate Ethan's way, and yet Ethan goes on to then minimize what Hasan says blatantly and just says that it's the way that Hasan carries himself and his subtext and his tone that is causing all of this hate and, like, Jewish hatred coming Ethan's way. So again, like, very nebulous, unfalsifiable claims coming from Ethan here, and I would really like it if he kind of, like, pinpointed all of his criticisms and was able to, bundle them all up and say it more succinctly.
Not very receptive on them. In fact, Hasan, I'm sad to say, did not watch he didn't watch a single point I made. Instead, he took to saying that...
Again, Ethan didn't really make single points. All he did was bring up tweets to try to, like, make an argument that one guy Hasan interviewed is a Jew hater.
I'm crazy, accusing me of hallucinating, saying I made a whole episode calling him anti-Semitic, which I never even called him anti-Semitic, if I'm being honest. I said I don't think...
This is kind of cope from Ethan here. He straight up did call Hasan anti-Semitic, and he also accused him of causing anti-Semitism to come Ethan's way, which is pretty much the exact same thing. Like, there's no real discernible difference there.
He is. And honestly, gaslighting me and anyone else who cares about this, instead of responding to a single point. He sets up these caricatures.
Just one thing about this, I don't think it's really on Hasan to respond to Ethan's, like, 2-hour long segment that he did about Hasan. It's kind of an unnecessary thing to do, and Hasan's right. Like, you can't really go through someone's hit piece on you and kind of like dismantle it point by point. That's something Vosh did when Ethan targeted him. He did actually go through everything point by point that Ethan did, And it was like a pretty fine video, but ultimately it doesn't actually do anything. It's not like you're gonna somehow put an end to it if you like put an end to the drama if you do that. And so I think Hasan does have kind of the right idea. And also notice that Ethan's doing the exact same thing he's going to be criticizing Hasan for doing, which is just watching clips of Hasan rather than, talking to him behind the scenes. I know that he said he tried to talk to him behind the scenes, which didn't work, or talking to like a different leftist that has essentially the same opinions as Hasan on this matter. There are tons of people like that, I'm sure. But instead of doing that, he really hides himself into this little hug box that he's built for himself. Obviously, he's turned the comments off on all of his recent videos, and he basically like trolls his Reddit for any kind of hatred that he can find, and then puts that on blast, kind of really just creating an atmosphere of positivity only for himself. And in a way that I think is a little bit toxic and dangerous. I don't think that like shutting out all kinds of criticism and just excusing that shut out as saying that it's hate sent to me from Hasan is a healthy way to deal with this issue.
Of points, without actually looking at the question. I think it'd be nice if he went through that at least a little bit. But in the meantime,
okay, so I'm just going to ignore it every time Ethan says, oh, well, why doesn't Hasan go through my entire like 2.5 hour video that I did about him, where he didn't bring up any actual like tangible points. He just brought up nebulous like Twitter posts that all try to aim into the direction of like painting Hasan as an anti-Semite.
I'm not surprised, though. It's kind of what I expected, So, but we went over showing terrorist propaganda with zero analysis, interviewing terrorists with zero critical analysis. Sneeko was unbanned, and Fresh and Fit was unbanned. And now I noticed also over the weekend that the Houthi pirate kid, the terrorist, yes, was also oh wait, not this one. So this is kind of a weird drama, but so he was. Oh yeah, this is it. He was unbanned. The Houthi fucking pirate terrorist kid was unbanned. They want him on Twitch. That's crazy.
So I don't know what he's really talking about. Is he talking about all of these guys were unbanned on Twitch? Like he doesn't say. I'm assuming because this episode is about the CEO of Twitch. I already addressed like this. I'm sorry that I do not know his name. I already addressed this teenager that Hasan interviewed. I don't really care about his rhetoric. I don't think that criticizing someone's rhetoric as they're surviving a genocide is really the place that you want to be spending your time doing. I think that's an exercise in futility and it's an extremely like poor look as a privileged person that's not experiencing that, talking about how the rhetoric of people that are being genocided is a little bit much. I think that's kind of crazy and a very privileged position that Ethan is talking from.
He has two channels. One is his throwaway. Wait, no, this is just his main channel. Okay. And this is an intentional choice by someone at Twitch to say, I want this kid unbanned. Now, if you think he's a terrorist or not, yeah, I will get to that. If you think this kid is a terrorist or not, we have proven that this and other images are real. This man is making actual death threats, calling for violence on Twitter. In what world is this somebody that Twitch wants back on their site? The execution we will carry out on all Zionists. Is this not disqualifying by itself, even without him being a terrorist? Who else can make tweets like this? And then Twitch comes coddling them back. Again, the evidence is lining up, stacking up. His account was later banned. I don't know when, sometime over the weekend or this morning, his thing got.
So just one thing about that, that tweet, Ethan talks about how isn't that like enough evidence to ban him from Twitch? Well, Zionism is a political ideology, and people in political ideologies are not a protected class. So I don't know what the rules of Twitch are, but I'm pretty sure if you said like kill all Republicans, that wouldn't get you banned from Twitch or like arrested for attacking a protected class.
Banned. And I don't know what's going on. Like, for sure, there's a level of incompetency at Twitch that is unmatched in any other social media network of their size. It's unmatched. Dan Clancy is a pathetic excuse of a leader. Like, this man just is literally running a shit show.
Thanks, Dan.
And I kind of jokingly said that I think Dan Clancy is anti-Semitic in our last episode, but I'm downright convinced that this man hates Jewish people. That's like the only explanation to account for everything I'm about to show you guys. So the Houthi kid was unbanned after I did my video. And now that this new thing is happening, there's like lots of controversy now with the Twitch panel that Frogan did. A lot of Frogan stuff. She made a Twitch panel where a lot of people, including myself, felt was deeply anti-Semitic. And then she went on Twitch and said that all veterans should get PTSD, which, so there's lots of, and then they banned Israel. There's a whole lot. But now that there's actually eyeballs and media talking about it, then all of a sudden he's banned again. Okay. So, Hasan, by the way, of course, once again, I think you guys should, I know there's lots of, oh wait, I don't have access? Hold on. I put this document together last night, and I'm off Twitter, right? Oh yeah, you can turn off chat. I don't need all that fucking noise. I'm not looking at chat, but I can only imagine during these combos, it's, fuck me.
Twitter's a rat hole.
Interesting. So Ethan is talking about turning off chat. Did they turn chat off? I guess I don't see it at all. Yeah, I guess they turned the live chat off. Interesting. Again, like, these are not people from Hasan's community in Ethan's live stream chat that is members on.
Hasan, by the way, who has decided to call me crazy and not respond to any of my points. This is what he had to say about the Houthi pirate kid that said all Zionists should die. Without watching what I said.
I don't understand why you wouldn't care if he's out there tweeting an image of a Jewish person on a pike. I don't understand why this problem can't be approached with nuance. Because he is a teenager in Yemen, dude. These people have no material power. They cannot touch you. They cannot harm you. That's the point.
This philosophy is so fucked. Like, first of all, you're the one platforming him. He is influencing people because of you. And by the way, I'm not even criticizing the Houthi pirate kid. That kid can go in Yemen and fucking do all the memes he wants about spearing Jews. I'm criticizing you. My commentary.
Okay, so just again, Ethan conflated Zionism with Judaism here. And Ethan is criticizing Hasan for platforming this guy. Just, guys, let's remember what platforming means. Platforming means that you're bringing someone's message to a wider audience of people. So a reason that like platforming has become a kind of a hot subject to talk about is, should someone who's trying to get views like platform like a straight Nazi or something, someone that will say anything to get a reaction, should a person like that really be given a platform to espouse such hateful and toxic rhetoric? So the big problem with that is that, first of all, you're exposing more people to that hateful, toxic rhetoric that could be like triggering for some people, and you just really don't want to put that out there and expose your audience to something that like toxic. Another issue with platforming is that person then will get more notoriety and they'll get more views and essentially more power. So if Hasan had on like a straight up neo-Nazi in America who has a YouTube channel and he's debating him like these ideas are reasonable. Oh, well, maybe white people should have an ethno-state, but let's break it down and talk about like the negatives and positives of this, the pros and cons. Then that person will get a lot of people looking at him from the right and left. I don't think a lot of people from Hasan's audience would automatically go to him, but Hasan does have conservative hate watchers that circulate his media, and if those ideas get put onto a platform as big as Hasan's, that person's going to gain notoriety, power, and those ideas are going to grow. The issue with talking about Hasan platforming this Yemenis kid is that guy doesn't have a platform himself. He has, I guess, Twitter, which is, I would say, the lowest of all platforms, having an account that you post on Twitter. He doesn't really have any power. He can't affect change in the United States. He can't really change people's minds. And then the other thing that you can talk about there is that guy wasn't actually espousing any toxic or negative views. The furthest you could go is saying that he was hanging out with the boat captain that they had taken over. So hanging out with a hostage, is that potentially endorsing terrorism? I think that's a very far reach. And so effectively what Hasan is saying here is that kid has no power at all, nothing to affect any kind of change or hurt anyone. pretty much anywhere in the world. And the fact that Hasan had him on his stream doesn't change that. It doesn't give that guy more power. We know that he got banned off of Twitter and basically like banned everywhere. But then also like the rhetoric that he's posting isn't going to be affecting anyone. And again, I'm not willing to really criticize the rhetoric that someone who has survived a genocide and is basically fighting between two imperialist powers and just trying to survive. I'm not really willing to criticize their rhetoric as someone who's not in that position. I do think that it's a little bit privileged to do that, and once someone like that has like freedom and self-determination, then let's start criticizing the rhetoric. But if they've just gotten out of 10 years of famine and now they find themselves being bombed again by the United States and then by Saudi Arabia, then I think it's fine if they can post something that is against a political ideology that has literally been at least a cause of the hardships that they've been seeing in their country.
Is about you. And he does this thing where he makes it seem like it's all about the pirate kid. And by the way,
Okay, so let's just keep in mind that Ethan's not talking about this pirate kid, as he calls him. I'll just call him Luffy from now on. Yemenis Luffy. He's talking about, this is about you, Hasan, not about Luffy.
people, it's like saying, there's a lot of these kids in Congo who are taking people out of their houses and doing crazy genocide. They grew up in really shitty conditions. They were getting genocided. So, it's like the bigotry of low expectations.
Okay, so just look at that. Like, Ethan brings up an example that is kind of relevant to what Hasan was talking about, how there are people that are kind of pushed into, I won't even really say extreme ideologies, but have been pushed into what appears to us as extreme actions and unethical actions because of the material circumstances that they grew up in. And Ethan realizes that and then immediately has to cut out to a different example because this would almost be proof against the point that he's bringing up. So let's just rewind this.
Doing crazy genocide. They grew up in really shitty conditions. It makes it seem like it's all about the pirate kid. And by the way, people, it's like saying, there's a lot of these kids in Congo who are taking people out of their houses and doing crazy genocide. They grew up in really shitty conditions. They were getting genocided. So, it's like the bigotry of low expectations. Like, I expect nothing of this kid. I expect no decency, no quality at all because he grew up in Yemen, so he can post pictures of Jews being spiked.
Okay, again, he didn't post pictures of Jews being piked. And also, it's not really bigotry of low expectations. Bigotry of low expectations is when you're basically being racist to someone. Like if a black person walks into an interview and you're like, wow, you didn't sound black on the phone. You sounded so well educated. That's bigotry. You're expecting less of someone. I think that understanding someone's material conditions and how that could affect their outlook on the world is not bigotry of low expectations. And Ethan likes to use these debate bro phrases a lot, such as I'm being gaslit by Hasan, or I'm being gaslit by my community, or poisoning the well. And I don't think Ethan has a perfect grasp on how to use these. And I would really like for him to just kind of use his words more, except instead of using these these catchphrases and these buzzwords. Just explain yourself a little bit more, because Ethan does kind of leave it to his audience to do a lot of reaching. And then you also see how he's either being disingenuous or is so emotional that he's losing his media literacy, in the respect where in this clip where this guy says, I'm going to basically execute all Zionists, Ethan will equate that to being Jews over and over and over again.
Not even a single word of condemnation for this disgusting, heinous fucking tweet, which, by the way, everybody was insisting was fake when I first mentioned it. Now that it's proven real.
Okay, Ethan, you saw one Reddit thread where one person Like the third comment down said that tweet was fake, and then like 6 other people believed them. So I mean, if you're gonna make a video just criticizing your Reddit section, that's fine, but saying that everybody said it's fake is kind of implicating like Hasan and other political commentators in that.
Now it moved from it's fake to it doesn't matter. Interesting how that happens. Like, once again, this is the image Hasan is talking about. I mean, imagine they said all Turks are all Arabs and see like how fucking cool he'd be about, hey dude, come on, they grew up in a tough place.
Okay, there are real fucking Nazis.
Okay, well, I would say that if he said like we're gonna do that to all Saudi American dogs, then it would be kind of understandable. Like, it's kind of understandable to do hateful propaganda against people that are your oppressors. And notice how Ethan shows the tweet, but he doesn't read it because he's spent this entire time. We're 17 minutes in. He started this 7 minutes in. So he spent 10 minutes talking about how that tweet is specifically for the Jews. When it very clearly says this is what we're going to do for all Zionists. And then again, like, why are you so hyper focused on this one tweet that like a teenager posted that just because he was on Hasan's platform? Like, the chain links that Ethan is like trying to find to Hasan is very fragile.
In the United States of America. And also,
guess what? Just because there's worse things, like the way that he's skirting criticism here is just so fucked up. He's saying there's bad things happening, so nobody can criticize me. It's like, dude, get real, man. Just fucking take it on. And it makes me sad that people in his audience let him get away with this types of like hand waving.
Okay, so just one thing to talk about in this point, and I think that it's kind of an important point to make that I'm going to try to say. There is something about the amount of screen time that any kind of media entity gives to a topic automatically lends weight and credence to that topic. So, for example, if a media company spends all the time talking about how horrible Donald Trump is, then even though they might say like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is absolutely trash, he's disgusting, Kamala Harris is just as bad, but we're going to spend more and more time talking about Donald Trump, that's automatically giving weight to the idea that Trump is like a horrible person, a horrible politician. Let's say you spend 90% of your time talking about how bad the Democrats are, 10% time talking about the Republicans are bad. That is effectively going to send a message to your audience that the Democrats are like 9 times as bad as the Republicans. That message will still get through, even though every now and then you might say, well, I'm still voting Democrat, or I'm voting third party, like both of them are really bad. But you spend all of your time talking about how the Democrats are bad, thus your effective message is that the Democrats are 9 times worse than Republicans. And I think this is a very important concept when we're talking about the idea that Hasan needs to address anti-Semitism's rise in America. I don't watch Hasan live. I watch his like following channels on YouTube, the channels of people that follow him, record him, post videos of him. So I know that I'm not like getting the direct curation of information that Hasan chooses to do on his stream, but I feel like I'm getting a pretty good view of the majority of what Hasan talks about. And Hasan doesn't talk about the rise of Islamophobia in the United States. He doesn't really talk about the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States. But he talks about the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And I think it would be disingenuous to bring up anti-Semitism an equal amount to talking about the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And the reason I talk about that is the reason I say that it would be disingenuous to, let's say, oh, I'm going to talk about anti-Semitism like even 40% of the time, and then I'm going to talk about the genocide 60% of the time. So whenever Hasan's talking about these issues, it'd be like 60-40. That would be disingenuous because it would be making anti-Semitism seem almost on the same scale as the probably by now hundreds of thousands of deaths in the man-made genocide that we're seeing in Israel. And I'm sorry to Ethan. I do think it's a much bigger issue when we're talking about the United States as an entire country aiding and funding a genocide that Israel is perpetuating in Gaza. Like, we're literally seeing a colonial power expand before our very eyes, and just the death and devastation that expansion causes. So, can Hasan talk about anti-Semitism? Yes, he does. He does say that, Israel is not representative of all Jews. And he does devote time to that. But what he's not going to do is take time out of his day and say, oh, well, when you talk about from the river to the sea, that could hurt some Jewish Americans' feelings because, they have ties to Israel. And they might not know any better. So when they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be freed, that oh, well, my parents live in Israel. If that happens, where are my parents or where are my grandparents going to go? Hasan's not going to, he can address that idea, but he's not going to really lend it any credence because I'm sorry, that feeling of being discriminated against from that discrimination is at the, if we're going to eliminate that feeling of it being discriminated against, it will come at the expense of anti-genocidal protesting. And so when your feelings of discrimination are because of protests against a genocide, and that's your personal experience with the rise of anti-Semitism, that's just not something that Hasan is going to take seriously or seriously talk about or tell people, well, maybe you shouldn't be so vocally anti-genocide because it could hurt some of more liberal Jews' feelings in the United States. And yeah, that's my main thing that I wanted to get out here. Let's listen to more of what Ethan talks about. But I think that's going to be an idea that I just reference over and over again throughout this as we get further into Ethan's response to the response.
It was sincere and well-constructed criticism, in my opinion.
What do you mean? It's just a person on a pike. There's no Jewish person on a pike on that photo, unless I saw something different. Okay? This is why this entire conversation is fucking idiotic. It's not a Jewish person. He said, why am I held accountable for some random fucking...
Because you platformed him. How fucking hard is that?
Okay, again, it's Hasan makes the point, it's not a Jewish person on a spike, and Ethan's doesn't say anything because he's been saying it's a Jewish person on the pike the entire time. And then also Ethan's oh, well, you're held responsible for what he posted because you platformed him, which is kind of an insane thing to say. You talk to one person one time and now you're responsible for everything they post. And again, what is Ethan trying to get out of this conversation? It's basically, it feels to me like he's just trying to get Hasan banned. Maybe he just wants Hasan to reach out and be friends with him again. Or does he want an apology from Hasan for saying that, for platforming that teenager? Let's just keep watching.
You're the one that put him on your channel unapologetically and then memed with him about One Piece. Didn't ask him one single critical question. That's you. You did that. I'm criticizing you. You're not accountable for him. You're accountable for yourself.
18-year-old in Yemen's tweets. What is happening? How many steps removed are we from this situation?
None. You're none. You did it.
How? How is this the conversation that you want to have right now? I fucking despise all of you, dude.
Okay, so what critical questions would Hasan have asked him? Oh, did you take part in hijacking a ship? Do you feel bad about that? I'm not trying to play dumb here, but I would like to see Ethan be a little bit more specific. What specifically would you want Hasan to see? And again, this is just playing more into the idea that Ethan's trying to build up a general atmosphere of anti-Semitism surrounding Hasan. He's just basically saying that even having that person on your podcast is bad. What critical questions would you ask him? And I think this was just an idea that Hasan had, kind of spur of the moment, wasn't thinking too hard about it, and it's not supposed to be a hard-hitting interview. He's literally interviewing a media sensation that popped up overnight, and he's oh, do you want to come on my stream and we can talk about dumb shit like One Piece and stuff? it's not, he's not like interviewing the leader of the Houthis. So Ethan asking for a critical interview here is kind of crazy. And again, it's displaying that Ethan has a very skewed perspective on just everything that Hasan's doing and the things that are happening in the Middle East and like the power imbalances between a random guy in Yemen that posted on Twitter a few times before getting banned and then Ethan with almost 3 million subscribers. Like, it's not very comparable.
And is it really cute the way that he like says crazy shit to his chat? I don't think it's really that cute. I don't know why people let him get away with that. So again, he says, the execution that we will carry out on all Zionists. And his thing is, oh, the guy's not Jewish. It's like, what did you expect him to be wearing a kippah? To be wearing a fucking yarmulke or some shit? What would make this offensive to you, Hasan?
I mean, I'm sure there's posts from people in the Houthi terrorist organizations that would have said, we're going to execute all Jews. Like, I think that this is a fair distinction to make, that he said Zionists here.
If he was wearing like a full-on like Orthodox like black suit, what exactly, you know what I mean?
Also, this is just displaying that Ethan hasn't really done any research into the difference between Zionists and Jews. Like, there are for sure Zionists that aren't Jewish, and there are Jews that aren't Zionists. Hasan talks to many of them. Joe Biden, he's a Catholic Zionist. A perfect example right there.
Fucking a pile of dreidels at the end of the bike? Like, what would make this offensive to you? The fucking kid literally said the execution that we will carry out on all Zionists. The gaslighting is unacceptable. Frankly, even his audience deserve a better explanation than that. But anyway.
Gaslighting again. Like, Hasan literally just reads the tweet and Ethan's like, you're gaslighting me.
Anyway, moving on. Also, there's one, before I get to the new stuff, there's this guy, I don't know who he is, but I found this to be a particularly heinous point made by one of his socialist leftist friends. I don't know who it is.
I think today, where he's talking about
episode. Oh
he
my
dedicated an entire podcast episode, I think.
First of all, scumbags, we talked about Kobe also.
Okay, yeah, this is where Ethan starts getting really mad. Like, he's like calling them scumbags and assholes and shit, and like just like taking really stupid jabs at Hasan and these guys. Like, he's like, "Oh, scumbags, we talked about a pygmy
And to make
hippo."
them a Kobe, and to make a Kobe into like what, a nothing segment is literally, these people are fucking punting. You might as well just drop kick this pygmy hippo. Okay, first mark against them.
To like how I am pro-terrorism.
Again, he didn't watch any of it. He's basing this based on like, I guess, chat. And it's like, what do you talk about it or don't, man? Don't do this shit.
And how I let anti-Semitism fester in my community.
What did like the 13-year-olds who watch it, like, what are they thinking?
You know what's funny about that? Who do you think's watching Hasan, you fucking moron? The same 13-year-olds watching me, you absolute gremlin. You fool. Like, you just...
It's like, Ethan, let's just get to the point, my man. Stop being so triggered. Like, you don't have to stop and be triggered to every single thing that comes out of their mouths.
I've told this to Ethan a long time ago. I was like, listen, a lot of your community is very, very, very progressive. Like, it's not me that's like making people upset at you for, saying a lot of things that might be damn near identical to like a Michael Rappaport about like, oh, I bet queers in Palestine wouldn't have an easy time. Or
So he's doing a nice trickery here where he's like, instead of again watching or reacting to anything I actually say, he goes, oh, Ethan's just like Michael Rappaport because he said that, in Gaza there's not great LGBT rights. It's like, really? Well, do you want to actually, listen to what I said? I didn't even fucking talk about that at all, okay, on the last episode.
If you were a sex worker in Palestine, you'd get thrown off the roof, like he said to our friend Mohammed.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff is not...
Look, I missed the mark on those, and I've apologized and moved on. The fact that he wants to keep, like, bringing that up as if that encapsulates my entire opinion on this is, again, disingenuous and downright fucking wrong. He's doing everything he can to avoid actually addressing any of my arguments.
Not going to be read positively by your audience, which is going to be very upset at you because your audience does not agree with what you're saying.
Well, apparently, unlike you, Hasan, I refuse to be captured by my audience, and I will stand by my convictions and say what I believe, despite knowing that it might piss off some of my audience. If you tried that, you might not have ended up turning into a terrorist sympathizer, propagator.
Terrorist sympathizer, propagator. So now Hasan is propagating terrorism. It's like, come on, Ethan, can you substantiate some of these points that you're making, some of these claims? And again, this is why, like, it's not necessary for Hasan to go through your VODs. You get very emotional and you start just like saying stupid, unsubstantiated stuff. Like that Hasan hates America, that he's a terrorist propagator. Like, sure, you can say he's a terrorist sympathizer. Everyone's a terrorist in another person's eyes. You can say Ukrainians are terrorists. In that regard, Ethan would be a terrorist sympathizer. He's never done anything pro-Ukraine. I'm sure Russia would call Ukrainian fighters right now terrorists against them. So again, it just gets to the issue that like Ethan doesn't like what Hasan's doing, and he's just trying to kind of work backwards from his conclusion there. He doesn't like the fact that Hasan's supporting this guy, that he's like apparently pro-Houthi, pro-Hezbollah, and anti-Israel, and Ethan just can't really stand that, and so he's kind of lashing out, and we can see this where he's like, oh well, I mean, this fucking idiot's saying that our audience is young. How young is your audience, Hasan? It's like, Ethan, if you're gonna, I would just appreciate it if Ethan's going to be talking about a subject that's as serious as genocide and like as personal as attacking his friend for it. The least he can do is try to keep himself professional and maintain his cool. I mean, this is a pretty big departure from the vibe of his, like the usual vibe of his show, where it's happy, like we're going to look at Moo Dang or we're going to watch the Twilight series. Like you're doing a hit piece on your friend because you think that he's promoting anti-Semitism. Like the least you can do is be a little bit more clear in like your disagreements with him. And this would have actually been a great opportunity for Ethan to kind of formulate all of his thoughts into something simple and precise, and like give Hasan steps to getting back into your good graces, or how you could rebuild your relationship with him. Like this format of a pre-planned out podcast is a way better format than just a free-flowing conversation with Hasan, if you're actually serious about like the very specific things that Hasan did do that like made you mad at him, and the things that he could do to redeem him in your eyes. And Ethan didn't do that at all. He basically just found a bunch of clips that he got mad about, or like some clips that he saw on Reddit that he feels good about, some posts from his supporters, and it was kind of like an emotional release for Ethan, and then at the end like a hug box for him on this episode. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the professionalism that we see from Ethan, and I really do wish he did more. Also, he's just kind of displayed a shockingly low level of media literacy here, consistently like mischaracterizing what Hasan says pretty much as soon as Hasan says it. Like, classic example, and the last time I covered this, Hasan was like, anti-Semitism is unacceptable, Islamophobia is acceptable. And then Ethan says, well, what I hear when you say that is anti-Semitism doesn't matter. It's like a non-issue. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of the opposite of what Hasan said. And then also here, like, what is his name? Felix Bitterman, I think. I know it's Felix, but Felix says something about, like, oh, well, where would Gila go? Would she go in the garbage? Which I actually thought was kind of funny. Like, it's so over the top, but he makes this point, and then Ethan, well, I'll just let it play.
And it's not just like me goading them into, feeling a type of way about you.
Yeah, didn't he had like a whole thing where a lot of YouTube guys had to do this during the Trump years, where like all their videos from like 2013, when you could do anything, like get recirculated among their new audience of people who were like 15 or 16 in 2017, and they're.
This is more just meaningless sniping from Ethan here, making fun of this guy for like watching his show in the past. Let's fast forward.
Upper middle class.
He's upper middle class, and it's like, we won the lottery. Why are you bitching about the?
This motherfucker says you are rich, so why do you care about anti-Semitism? Also, like, Hasan is fucking like probably as rich as I am. Let's be honest.
I think like anyone who does our general job, and especially someone like him, who I only make $3 million a month. I'm middle class. He makes $30 million a month.
He's upper middle class.
He's upper middle class, and it's like, we won the lottery. Why are you bitching about the?
This motherfucker says you are rich, so why do you care about anti-Semitism? Also, like, Hasan is fucking.
Ethan, let's let him finish. Like, the guy was gonna say, why are you bitching about, and then you pause it. I don't really care enough to go back and find the clip, but I just want to finish this.
Like probably as rich as I am. Let's be honest. He downplays as well. He gets like the same concurrent viewers as we do, and he collects all the money straight to the dome himself. Okay, so like the same logic. Just say, hey, son, why are you getting so worked up about Gaza, man? We won the lottery. You're rich, dude. Just chill. Like, what a pathetic fucking response. Thank you. Actually, I think I put the wrong clip.
Trolls all the time.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Look,
Talking about anti-Semitism is trolls. Like the way that they're trying to gaslight this. This is the one I meant to show actually.
Okay, well, I think it was like the people that specifically comment on your videos. He's going to say, why are you focusing on the comments? Like I said, why are you bitching about trolls all the time? That's completely fair. Like, why are you looking at the comments? Hasan doesn't look at the comments and complain about Islamophobia in his comment section. It is kind of a crazy thing to do. Like, it's one thing if you're being harassed. It's another thing if people are leaving comments on your video.
That one was fine, but this is the one that
Make it so Israel isn't a Jewish. He's like, oh, you want to make it so Israel isn't a Jewish homeland? Where is my wife?
Okay, so one point about this. Let's just break this down. This guy says like, oh, you want to make it where Israel isn't a Jewish homeland. Where is my wife gonna go? That's essentially the gist of what Felix is saying here. This is so Ethan takes this in the complete wrong way. He has like very poor media literacy. Ethan Klein does. What Felix is saying here is you want to make it where Israel isn't a Jewish homeland. Basically, you want to make it where Israel isn't an ethno-state. And that is kind of the definition of a lot of anti-Zionists. Anti-Zionists say, well, Israel probably shouldn't be an ethno-state. Like, ethno-states are generally a bad idea to have, especially if you're like a militarily enforced, apartheid enforced ethno-state. Oh, hey, what's up, Air Canada? Request a YouTube video to watch along. I mean, I'm going to be posting this to YouTube, so you can check it out later. But anyway, so Felix Bitterman is basically saying, like, you want to make it where Israel isn't a Jewish homeland, i.e. you want to make it so it's not a Jewish ethno-state anymore. Where is my wife going to go? And he's basically saying that second part, like, oh, well, if it's not a Jewish homeland, then where can I go? A lot of people are complaining about people are complaining about like how if Palestinians have equal rights as the Jews in Israel, then where are Jews going to go? Like it needs to be our homeland so that we can be like confident as Jews. And yeah, so we can be confident as Jews and like have a safe place to be, basically. Like the kind of irony is that Jews will simultaneously be like, we need Israel to be an ethno-state so that we can be safe, but also the fact that Israel is an ethno-state makes it inherently unsafe because they're oppressing the other people that are surrounding them. And then those people inevitably will like violently lash out to try to like get some more rights for themselves. And so basically Felix is making a joke here. It's like, oh, if Israel's not an ethno-state, where am I going to go? And then he says, well, the people that are saying that live in America, which is kind of funny. It's like, why would I complain about I need an ethno-state to be safe when I'm living here? And so Felix is making a point generally about Zionists that say, oh, well, Jews, of course, need an ethno-state so they can be safe. But also it's like a more specific point, too, about like specifically rich Zionist Jews in America saying, oh, well, where am I going to be safe if Israel's not an ethno-state anymore? And he's basically saying like, oh, maybe in America. It is kind of funny, and I agree 100% with what Felix says. Obviously, there were a few concepts there that were a little bit subtextual, and that's going to fly way over Ethan's head.
Who lives with me in Beverly Hills in California, where's she going to go? In the garbage? In the toilet? Do you just want to kill her?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's going to go where she is now, which is not Israel.
Yeah,
so he's saying Israel is an ethno-state, And so many Zionists believe that, oh, well, it needs to be an ethno state so Jews are safe, and yet there are so many Zionist Jews living outside of Israel because Israel's not safe. So there is like an inherent contradiction there that he's pointing out.
Like, first of all, I have never ever complained about Israel's safety or wondered where she's going to live. Okay, that level of like, once again, obfuscating and reducing my arguments is pathetic. But he really is hitting.
Okay, that wasn't an argument that you made. He wasn't trying to reduce your argument. He was just making a point that about an argument that he's seen outside of your stream. Like, Ethan knows that they didn't watch his video, right? So why does he think that he's trying to reduce his argument?
On this, like, telling Israelis to go somewhere else, which is, let's be real.
That's not what Felix said at all. Like, he literally said that the people that are living in America are living in America because Israel's not safe right now because of its apartheid ethno state. He didn't say people that are living in Israel should go somewhere else.
We can't fucking approach this topic like that. There's 8 million fucking Jews that live there. 80% of them were born there. This thing that like, oh, just go somewhere else is down. It's sick.
Okay, so just remember what Felix said there and what I said, and now Ethan's taking that to mean that Hasan's position is that all Jews in Israel should leave Israel. And he's going to be railing against this straw man argument for the entire rest of this episode, which is, I don't know, it's kind of shocking, man. Like, how do you hear, you have to basically be hearing every other word from what Felix said there to arrive at the conclusion that he was saying all Jews should leave Israel. I'm just going to rewind it one more time.
Where's she gonna go?
To a show, actually. That one was fine, but this is the one that
Making so Israel isn't a Jewish. He's like, oh, you want to make it so Israel isn't a Jewish homeland? Where is my wife who lives with me in Beverly Hills in California? Where's she gonna go? In the garbage? In the toilet? Do you just want to kill her?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's gonna go where she is now, which is not Israel.
Yeah, this is
like, first of all, I have never ever complained about Israel's safety or wondered where she's gonna live. Okay, that level of like, once again, obfuscating and reducing my arguments is pathetic. But he really is hitting on this like, telling Israelis to go somewhere else. Which is, let's be real, we can't fucking...
I love that. He's hitting on telling Israelis to go somewhere else. It's like, bro, did you just hear the last, like, 3... It's like he listened to, like, literally every 7th word that he said, and he arrives at this
topic like that. There's 8 million fucking Jews that live there. 80% of them were born there. This thing that, like, oh, just go somewhere else is down... It's sick. It's a sick fucking thing. And it's so counterproductive to the point where it's like, you're basically, you don't care about peace. If your solution is, let's relocate 80 million people, 80% who were born there and have no other alternative place to live. That's literally where they live. Okay. Also, why are they obsessed with my wealth? Like, bro, these two socialist fucking dudes are both rich as fuck, and they're sitting here being like, you're rich, why do you care? Like, get a grip, dude. Like, this is the thing. This is radical shit. This is not normal shit, okay? To sit here and tell Israelis to move and go somewhere else. Like, this is not normal. Do you guys understand this?
Yeah, he didn't say that.
Twitch has normalized this.
Also, he didn't say you're rich, so you should ignore anti-Semitism. He basically said, why the fuck are you looking at the comment section all the time?
Type of discourse. And that's the problem. This is not fucking normal. This is extraordinarily radical. And can you find a single voice on Twitch that like varies from Hasan's like talking points by even 1%? Can you even find one person on Twitch that would say, who's a political commentary person, that would say, you know, I don't think kicking out 8 million Jewish people is actually a good solution because they were born there and like so they should be able to stay there? Can you find a single motherfucker to say that on Twitch? Why?
Hey, I'm on Twitch right now. I don't think kicking out 8 million people is a solution for ending Israel's genocide. Are you happy, Ethan? You just asked for one.
Why is that? Why is that? There's one fucking correct political opinion on Twitch, and it's radical. It's so radically left that it defies logic. Thank you. Next.
Okay, so like forced deportation is not a leftist position, and this is just another indication that Ethan doesn't really know what the fuck he's talking about when he's talking about like radical leftist. He just seems to think that like radical leftist is a type of conservatism similar to like Islamic conservatism, basically like the Andrew Tate style where, oh, well, I'm like Islamic and I'm conservative, which is kind of crazy that like you don't see the similarities between being like praising Allah and hating women, or praising God and hating women. But yeah, he talks about like leftist racism, which is it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
And then ultimately, he decides that I'm.
Can I add, Ethan, one
Yes, yes.
personal
Yeah,
feeling that I've had with Hasan that I can't really get past is his dismissiveness of the rapes that happened. He acts like they didn't happen, acting like rapes didn't happen, and he's just chuckles when people bring it up, or like.
Kamala Harris said the rapes, and then he laughed, and basically his chat started saying that they're all lying, and he kind of like expressed. I mean, he doesn't believe the rapes happened. It's not even debatable. Mm-hmm. Which again, it doesn't justify anything Israel's doing. That's the problem. That's what people can't.
Okay, I broke down that whole like sexual assault part of Ethan's story last time, and yeah, Hasan has never said that there was no sexual violence that occurred on October 7th. What he's rolling his eyes about is like the extreme dehumanizing depictions of like Hamas soldiers as animals, just like ripping apart people, because those claims were spread extremely wide and then eventually proven false. And so Ethan is going to have to do more to kind of like explain how Hasan is bad on that regards. And also let's just be honest, Ethan like brought up no evidence of rapes happening either. He cited a UN report that said that sexual violence could have happened, but like no specific examples. And then Ethan says, he talks about, oh well, there's so many examples, yet of course he doesn't bring any up himself.
Like hold two ideas in their head at the same time. Okay, it doesn't justify. And in fact, this conversation we would have moved past a long time ago if it wasn't for people constantly accusing these women who were raped of lying. Like,
I can't
how does
imagine
that further their cause?
I can't imagine anything worse, honestly. Somebody that's been through so much. There are people that have survived the Nova festival.
Okay, has Hasan ever accused a woman that was raped of lying? Like, I don't think there's really been any women that have come forward saying they were raped on October 7th. And you can say that that's because all of the women that were raped were then subsequently killed, which is like a dark possibility. However, the fact that there were no women that came forward talking about it is very shocking considering how many survivors there were. And you can see like both Hila and Ethan don't actually bring up any examples themselves, and yet they say that Hasan has like dismissed all of these women that have come forward. Again, what he's dismissed has been the like wildly basically horror porn types of stories that have come out from October 7th that have been then disproven by people. Either disproven or no actual evidence. And I know that there have been stories of reporters trying to track down women's stories that have been raped, and they've just found nothing. Like they've tracked down reports of women being raped, and they've just found like no actual people have experienced that. And you'll hear even now, like Hila and Ethan don't bring up any actual stories of it. There's just like no corroborated hard evidence of firsthand accounts of sexual violence happening in October 7th. Like you hear people talking about, oh, well, I heard so many screams and that was because it was rape. Oh, well, did you see it? No, it was around the block. Like that's just not going to be enough evidence. Like first of all, it's a witness account, which is the worst kind of evidence. And then they're putting their interpretation on sounds that they heard. Again, it's just not very strong. And if you're going to be criticizing Hasan for this, then like, please come up with more evidence than that. Like also, if you're going to be, especially if you're going to be citing specific examples, or if you're going to be saying there are specific examples, but then you don't actually cite anything specific. If you're just like, well, there's so many specific examples, and then you don't actually bring any of them up, you're not being very honest in your delivery of information.
And
A girl just killed herself. I don't know if you read that yesterday.
no, I
A
haven't.
survivor.
there you go.
doesn't just
Because I saw one girl talk about how out of everything that she went through, the hardest thing for her is still hearing the screams of somebody that was raped next to her.
All right, I'm just gonna look that up. All right, let's see. CNN article. This is Shirel Golan. Here we go. So it says, she survived the October 7th terror attack. A year later, she took her life. Her family blames the state for not helping. That's interesting. They blame the state rather than Hamas here. Mayor Golan sank his face in the dents. Okay, so more than a year after Hamas and other armed guards launched their terror attack against Israel, Shirel Golan became their latest victim. She died by suicide on Sunday, the day she turned 22. That's very sad. So she obviously was depressed and experiencing PTSD. So he said the whole family was in shock from her sudden death. Yeah, that sounds very sad. So Shira wandered off without anyone. So this is just her suicide. Wow, that's really bad, man. I don't really want to read about her suicide, but what is this? So heartbroken and overwhelmed with guilt and anger, Eyal said he blames the Israelis' health authorities for some of Cheryl's problems. He said no one from the government ever reached out to her or the family. And this is a common trend that we see in Israeli society, where the Israeli government is much more interested in like dishing out violence than they are in actually protecting and caring for their citizens. And that's just like a fascist country in general, where it's kind of like a shark where they need to keep moving to survive and they can't actually build anything. All they can do is like destroy so many here. So what is this? The Nova Music Festival massacre was by far the deadliest of all the attacks on October 7th, with nearly a third of the 1,200 people who died that day killed there. Just one thing to note, like, many people that were killed on October 7th were killed by the IDF too. Like, we clearly see that the IDF doesn't care about civilian life, even if it's Israeli life. There were so many dead and kidnapped that it took Israeli authorities months to determine the exact number of victims at the site. The IDF said 347 people, most of them young, were killed, and some 40 others were taken hostage from the festival. Many of the hundreds who survived are still struggling with mental health problems, including PTSD, survivor's guilt, depression, and anxiety. So, just one thing to note here, it doesn't say that this woman was raped, and Ethan Klein straight up implied that she was raped, because he said that she just killed herself when they were talking about Hasan dismissing people that were raped. Where was I watching? Oh, here. So this is
couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, this is an extremely disingenuous and lazy approach from Ethan Klein and Gila here, where they're talking about testimonials of women who experienced sexual assault on October 7th, and Ethan says that, oh, one woman just killed herself. That's like extremely implying that she was raped and she killed herself because of it. And then you look deeper into it and there's no mention of rape in any of the articles, and she actually killed herself due to PTSD and the fact that there was no support for her from the Israeli government. And also, I'm sure that it didn't help that she was seeing so much death and destruction that her own country was causing. So again, like, he's almost trying to put this death on Hasan by saying that, women like Shira or Cheryl kill themselves in part because they weren't being believed due to their stories. So let's just
Who were raped of lying.
I
Like,
can't
how does that
imagine
further their cause?
I can't imagine anything worse, honestly. Somebody that's been through so much. There are people that have survived the Nova festival, and
A girl just killed herself. I don't know if you read that yesterday.
no, I
A
haven't.
survivor.
there you go.
doesn't just
Yeah,
like-
because I saw one girl talk about how out of everything that she went through, the hardest thing for her is still hearing the screams of somebody that was raped next to her that she couldn't do anything about.
Okay, again, like, please just bring up a single testimony of a person being raped. If you're going to be bringing up anecdotes, just bring something topical up. Like, I'm not trying to dismiss sexual violence. It does seem like there was sexual violence that occurred on October 7th, but these people are being extremely disingenuous in how they're talking about this subject. They're bringing up anecdotes, trying to use those anecdotes as proof that there was rape happening, and then you look deeper into those anecdotes and like there's nothing. So Ethan brings up a woman who killed herself, no mention of rape. Gila brings up a girl, as she says, whose PTSD is caused by hearing screams, and then she says of the people that were being raped. It's like, okay, well, how do you know it was specifically sexual violence? And this is why Hasan was like rolling his eyes when Kamala Harris brings up the sexual violence that happened on October 7th, because there are so many stories that get circulated around the internet that are completely unfounded or blown out of proportion. And then, there's not really too much room for nuance or room for kind of the less captivating stories to take hold. Like, no one's gonna want to read about, oh, well, I was in bed and then I got like yanked roughly out of bed, and I felt like molested, when you have videos of people that were talking about how, oh yeah, a woman was raped while she was getting beheaded and her breast cut off and then shot in the head. It is kind of disgusting. So I wish that Ethan and Gila came into this more prepared, especially when you're going to be talking about a subject as serious as this, and accusing someone, like accusing, in theory, a friend of theirs as something as, or accusing them of doing something as serious as like denying sexual violence happened.
And she felt so guilty. I don't know if this maybe is the same person that you're telling me now. I don't know, but
Yeah, they don't even know. She's like, oh well, there's a girl in the hospital, could have been the same girl that killed herself.
there's a guy that was raped. There's a
Oh, there's a guy that was raped. Like, please, if you're gonna bring this up in a pre-planned podcast where you have everything, like you have all of these little segments of like supporting evidence to help you make your case, please just like do a little bit better next time. Than just saying, oh, there was a guy that was raped. Okay.
lot of stories.
And like, dude, again, doesn't justify anything Israel did. And I also sympathize. I know that there's fucking Israelis pieces of shit that have raped Palestinian prisoners and shit. Like, fuck that. Like, I have no problem admitting that. And that's a problem. That's a huge fucking problem. It's disgusting, right? Why deny it though? How does that?
Okay. Well, the difference there is that, like bringing up Israeli rape of Palestinians is like definitely corroborated evidence, and is something that, like, in theory we should be able to stop, right? Because October 7th was like a few hours, it ended then. No one can really stop that except for Israel by, stopping the apartheid and oppression in Palestine. And then America should be able to stop, like, by talking about the rapes that happened that are corroborated and made, like, are actually legitimately reported upon, that are done systematically by Israeli guards. We know that there is a large group of the Israeli population that is actually condoning this, and it seems to be a culture that happened within the ranks of, like, these concentration camps that Israel has set up. Basically, this is systemic, and everything that systemically happens in Israel is something that America is basically at fault for and has a hand, or at least should have a hand in, trying to repair. So yeah, that sexual violence that happens at the hands of Israelis is something that America should be responsible for. And then also like the sexual violence that like first of all, there was no top-down order to do sexual violence from Hamas. So people talking about Hamas coming out and doing like mass rapes, it's just wrong. Like that straight up didn't happen. What are you saying? I too see power. Saw on TV Yazidi girls freed from Gaza. They lied to. I don't know anything about that. Send me a link or something that I can check it out. Anyway, let's continue this.
Benefit your cause. How? This is the audience capture that he's under. He can't deviate from a single point because he knows he'll get shit. He can't say that the rapes happened because he'll be eaten alive by his audience. How does that benefit your cause? In fact, the opposite. He laughs. So yeah, it's fucking gross. And ultimately, the way he
okay, what I will say is that like if someone gets raped, like let's say someone got raped on October 7th, it's not like a systematic issue because first of all, if it was, there'd be way more evidence and people reporting on it, people reporting on like the rape culture within Hamas and like how it stems from the top down. And so it like again, it would be kind of reporting on an anecdote and then using an anecdote as a way to color an entire organization, which I wouldn't really care, but Hamas is, there is like a push to make Hamas synonymous with Palestine and Palestinians. And so, yeah, that is an anecdote that would be used to like further dehumanize Palestinians, which again is like another reason why Hasan would roll his eyes when Kamala Harris brings it up.
decides to just move on from this is to accuse me of being crazy.
Like, guys, I don't really care. I don't really know how to address it. That's it. I can't deal with someone's like hallucinations. All right. I don't know what to do.
You can start by actually watching it. You know what I mean? Like, start there, but okay, I'm hallucinating. I'm crazy. Well, it's funny that he said that in direct response, but the hallucination is starting to feel a lot more real after what happened. So let's move on past Hasan and talk about, let's see here. Oh, there's a few more things about Hasan, actually. Sorry, guys. I just have to talk about this. I can't tiptoe around this anymore, you guys.
This post you sent me was from like 7 months ago. Why are you bringing it up now?
You know what I mean? No other fucking minority group would be told to just like move on. Okay, I can't tiptoe around this. I fucking despise how Hasan, specifically Hasan, keeps telling me what I need to do is go talk to other Jewish people that are on his approved list of like Jews that can like actually talk to you about. Like, I'm fucking sick of this shit. It would never be of another race that would say that.
Okay, so what's funny about this is like, it is kind of funny to say, oh, well, go talk to some other Jews. But I do think that Ethan, like, actually, even though he's getting mad in this situation, he does kind of respect opinions of other Jews a little bit more than he does Hasan. In this regard, on this topic, in Ethan's last video, he literally brings up like 3 or 4 posts on his Reddit of people talking about their Jewish experience. So, like, this is something that he should accept from Hasan here. Like, oh, well, I guess I don't understand why he's like getting so mad. Like, maybe he wants to talk to Hasan about it, but it is funny that he did this very thing, bringing up viewpoints of Jewish people, and then Hasan saying, oh, well, here, talk to this person that has a different viewpoint of the people. Like, talk to this Jewish person, and then Ethan's like, why are you getting so mad? Oh, okay, I get you. I'll check that article
Imagine a black person talking about racism, and it sounds like, I have a black friend that is actually really good. You should talk to them. You know what I mean? You should talk to my black friend. It's bigoted, dude. Straight up.
It's the full episode, I think, today, where he's talking about.
It's a full episode. Oh
he
my
dedicated an
god.
entire podcast episode, I think, to like how I am pro-terrorism, and how I let anti-Semitism fester in.
Okay, I don't think it's like ridiculous to say, oh, well, you could, if you're concerned about like how your Jewishness is being perceived by people, then you could talk to Sam Cedar because he would be able to discuss that like on a more personal level. And I know Ethan would say, oh, well, I'm not concerned about how my Jewishness is being perceived. I'm concerned about how you're platforming a Houthi terrorist. And that's what he would say. I'm not saying that Timothy, whatever, the Yemenis teenager that Hasan talked to, I'm not saying he is a Houthi terrorist. But Ethan would be like, well, I'm addressing you. I'm not saying that this is like a me problem, but clearly it is a problem with him. He's getting a lot of hateful comments. I want to even say hateful, but it's just comments that are saying like free Palestine comments. And Ethan doesn't really like that. And he's lashing out at Hasan, saying that Hasan is the one sending all of that hate his way, in his direction. And so I don't think that it would solve all of Ethan's issues, but I do think that like talking to someone who actually knows what they're talking about and is a Jewish person and has experienced this Jewish hate that Ethan's talking about, could kind of provide Ethan a fresh perspective, especially someone that's not in his audience who were the Jewish people that he brought up in his last podcast.
In America, when I say something like this, people get very upset. You know, we talk about the Dalai Lama saying "suck my tongue" or whatever, but like that's not far from the norm in fucking normal Tibetan existence before the Communist Party came in.
Insinuating that Tibetans are just raping kids? What's he saying?
And
So China unilaterally took over Tibet,
Like,
well,
these are-
their culture. They basically are trying to, homogenize the culture.
if your culture,
They're trying to swell the religion and
the part
identity.
of
And they did
freedom
them a
warlords
favor.
and slavery, abolishing
Because if your culture has,
that, yes, I do think that is good.
No, China did them a favor.
I think that, yes, I will
Doesn't
be on the
matter.
record
Just
to
like
say
America did it.
that
Nah,
while the
they
Chinese
did it.
government, wait,
I was going to say something like American. If you,
Hasan is a little bit weird when it comes to China. I mean, obviously, there's kind of a tension that you need to find the balance between of colonialism and like leaving and isolationism. I do think that like, globalism is generally a good idea. Obviously, if we could figure out a way where everyone is like on the same page and has equal rights and equal opportunities, that would be amazing. I'm not gonna really cover this too much, but it is just funny. Like, so Frogan's doing this thing where she's saying like, "Oh, Arab coded, asks permission to say Habibi." I don't even know what that means.
We're on the end of the couch.
Thinks
All right. But we're going to hear.
it's a slur. Oh, thinks Arab is a slur, and then loves Sabra hummus. That's what her list is. So let's see if we can find a closer look. And then Ethan gets like so triggered, and he's like, "Oh well, Sabra means a Jew born in Israel. So you're basically saying Arab is at the top and a Jew born in Israel is at the bottom," which I think is like hilarious. Like, obviously they're saying love Sabra hummus because Sabra hummus represents Israel, and Israel is like kind of the antithesis to being Arab at the moment. And then Ethan gets all like pissy and up in his feels about it. I don't really care. I know that like people will do tier lists or talk about like make ethnicity jokes all the time. Like one of my something that immediately comes to mind is black content creators talking about which anime character is black coded, which I actually kind of find informative and entertaining. Like talking about kind of, you're basically highlighting aspects of your culture, and then what aspects in your culture kind of line up with the characters that you're watching on TV. And I think that's actually like informative and useful for people when they're trying to create media that is more inclusive. So like maybe you're doing an anime and you don't even have like a black character, but you could have like certain aspects that people that aren't represented strictly by the skin color of your characters would still be able to relate to in those characters. So I think that's fine. I don't think that having like a tier list judging how perfectly someone fits into a race is anti-Semitic. I don't think that saying like Sabra hummus is the antithesis of being Arab is anti-Semitic. And I do kind of find it funny that Ethan goes into saying that like, he basically says love Sabra, Jews born in Israel, as being the worst. And it's kind of funny how he switches out this tier, where obviously this tier list is from the point of view of an Arab person, and is like in a framework of comparing Arab people to people that hate them the most. Like it's specifically about Arab people. So notice how like they say Arab is a slur. And so obviously if you're doing a tier list of the point of view, or like a tier list where the framework is Arab people and then people that hate Arab people. And so it's like people that hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you. You can see how that's like an inherently correct, like pro-human tier list almost. Like you could switch this out with any race. You could say like Asian people, and then I don't know who hates Asian people the most. Asian people's parents. Yeah, you can do a tier list like that. And obviously there's like only one right direction to have that. They're not saying that if you're Jewish, you're at the bottom. They're just saying like if you're a supporter of Israel, you're at the bottom, because Israel is kind of like in its anti-Arab phase right now. It's in its anti-Arab era right now. I mean, it's never left that era. It's never been in a different era. But anyway, I don't have much more to add on this. Like, I think it's basically if you had like a bottle and then every time you throw it in a water, it self-orients. It's like heavier at the bottom, lighter at the top. It's designed to be in this way. I just don't have any other thing to add. Like it's basically tautological that Arab people that hate Arabs, it's in that order. Oh yeah, thanks. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope I'm doing a good enough job breaking this down. Hasan acts
But I think it was like
tier
literally
list.
who has the Habibi pass? Hummus Gate? Yeah. Wasn't that straight up comprised of a Arab Jew, an Arab Christian, and an Arab Muslim in tier list?
Once again, you'll notice Hasan does this all the time. He's the king of the Jewish friend, the racial friend theory, to like sidestep any.
Okay, all I'm going to say to this, like, I know Ethan kind of gets triggered when Hasan brings up, oh, well, Jewish people don't support Israel. If Ethan's going to say, well, I know a lot of Jews that are feeling like anti-Semitism is on the rise and they're, like, hurting because of it, then, like, Hasan's completely valid to bring up, oh, well, I know, like, a Jew is on that panel. Like, it's literally just anecdotes. And one anecdote can be defeated by another anecdote. I know Ethan's really been like on his debate bro kick right now. So that's a term that's like a debate bro strategy he should learn, where you can defeat one anecdote by just giving another anecdote. Oh my God. I forgot how long this was. This was crazy. All right, I'm just going to let this play for a little bit.
But I'm hallucinating, according to Hasan. Well, let's see if I'm hallucinating. The big story breaking right now is that since October 7th, Twitch has blocked the entire country of Israel from making new accounts. Secretly, silently, no statement, no explanation, has blocked an entire fucking country. What's the explanation for this? Like, how is this possible? But then, like, I don't need to do any of that because Twitch put out a statement saying it's real, which is here. We want to address concerns we've seen about whether we're preventing Twitch account signups in some regions. When signing up for a Twitch account, you can select an account verification method, email or phone, for added protection. Following October 7th attacks, we temporarily disabled signups with email verification in Israel and Palestine. We did this to prevent uploads of graphic material related to the attacks and to protect the safety of users. This explanation first makes so little sense. If you're going to be sharing graphic material or some kind of like a back, it says verification failed. Wait, hold on. It says, what does it say?
You're going to have to tell me, man.
Yeah, this is some deep level shit.
What are we looking at?
It says enter SMS code, verification, divestment laws, which I think are dumb, by the way. People should be able to boycott Israel if they want.
Yeah, no,
but there's certain laws in a lot of states, like 30 states.
California is
one of them.
Yeah.
It says that you can't discriminate against. I don't know the exact law, but yeah, you can't discriminate against Israel.
It just seems extremely shady to like, if you take a stance against Israel, at least say what you're doing, instead of give them an error and the individuals just think something is wrong with them personally and they don't know what.
It's fucking insane. There's no
my first thought when I saw all this, I was like, well, surely, there's other instances of this. They probably blocked signups in Russia, right? Because of all the sanctions and everything. And apparently they haven't, which is kind of crazy.
Even in Russia, which is on literally a government embargo list, they can still use the website and sign up. They just can't monetize their content.
Right. So they can't they can't
sign
make money
up
on Twitch anymore.
They can make accounts. They can stream even, I think. They just can't make money.
They definitely can stream because there's Russian streamers. Like there's a big segment of Twitch.
Once again, Russia is on an official embargo list, barring American companies from working with them.
Even if you just take it at face value of it was exactly what Twitch said, that they temporarily put this thing in an effort to contain gore posts or whatever and then forgot about it for a year. At a minimum, that's like stunning incompetence for like a giant company like Twitch, right? Like that level of fuck up. So even if you're being extremely charitable to them, this is not a great look.
Even if you're being extremely charitable, you still have to take into account the support emails. People said, I can't sign up. What's the deal? And they said, we investigated the matter and you're uneligible.
Right, yeah.
And the Israeli,
thoroughly investigated.
The Israeli streamer said he's already tweeted about it months ago.
Yeah, no, I showed it months ago, back in November. He was already talking about it.
What the hell are we doing over there? Crazy.
I really hope this turns into a giant scandal for them, because there is unchecked fucking, it seems like institutionalized
So Ethan just got banned like 2 hours ago, which very well could be because of the...
Okay, so Ethan says that like Twitch stopped signups in Israel and Palestine, basically, and then that is unchecked, institutionalized anti-Semitism. So again, like ignoring the fact that you couldn't sign up if you were in Palestine, that's a very, like, he's just not thinking about Palestinians at all. He's very much inside himself and only looking at everything from the perspective of, is this anti-Semitic or not? Like, is this going to hurt me in any way? So again, very like dehumanizing for Palestinians to just not even consider them. Like, even when his producers straight up tell him, well, also like Palestinians weren't able to sign up. And then Ethan kind of just ignores that because he wants to make the point that Twitch is being anti-Semitic. And again, Ethan doesn't really have like a one consistent through line that he's talking about. He just has a lot of feelings that people are like out to get him and trying to attack him for being Jewish. And so he's like looking at a lot of different things. So like the fact that like Twitch stopped people from signing up on Israel, he's like, oh well, that's anti-Semitic. Okay, well, Ethan, is Israel an ethno state or not? Like, I also the fact that like there's Palestinians there, so, and he's gonna use this to say that the CEO Dan Clancy is anti-Semitic. So we have that, and then I guess the fact that some of these, okay, I don't really give a shit about Frogan at all. Like, she said some stupid stuff. Okay, and then you have the ban, people get banned. So that's basically it. Like, Ethan's saying that the CEO of Twitch is anti-Semitic because he banned Twitch users from signing up in Israel, and then also he let that like Arab to Sabra hummus tier list video go before banning people, although he eventually did ban them. Like, I don't really know what to say. Like, obviously Palestinians weren't able to sign up for Twitch either, so like, it's not really anti-Semitic, is it? I mean, this is the issue with Israel being an ethno-state. If you do an action against Israel, people are going to say that, oh, well, you're being anti-Semitic because Israel is a home place for the Jews. Ethan does this. He like continuously will switch up between saying Zionists are Jews. He does that all the time in this stream. Even when called out for it, he's like, oh, well, what? Should we just put like, do we need a yarmulke on them all before we can talk about them as being Jews? I don't know. He needs to talk to someone because he's really in like kind of a bad place. And like, even though he's been shutting off comments and creating a hug box for himself, he still has ended up in just a bad headspace, in my opinion. And I guess it turns out that just like responding to comments isn't good for your mental health. Like, who would have thought? People only figured that out like 15 years ago. Let's talk about this video.
Hello, once again, my friends. An emergency Ethan Klein video is in order. Been talking a lot about my former co-host Hasan Piker and leveling some pretty serious criticism against him. I knew that he wasn't going to take it well and wasn't going to respond to any of the points made. And basically, it's turned out that I've been right about that. There's one clip, though, that I just saw on our subreddit that's especially
So why would he make the video? Again, he's just doing it because he's emotional. Like, it doesn't actually have any bearing on what he wants from Hasan. He's not actually coming into this in like a good faith conversation. He's just using his platform to vent right now. Like, he's admitting he didn't think Hasan would kind of react at all to what he was doing.
Nefarious. This is the type of character assassination and propaganda that I think is really important to call out the minute it happens to get ahead of it. This is also what would be especially good for fans of Hasan's who've been listening to the podcast.
Okay, Ethan does realize that like everything is propaganda, right? So bring up propaganda like it's a bad thing is kind of funny and a naive thing to do.
Podcast to help drive home some of the points that I've been making. So here it is. Let's just go ahead and jump right in.
Did you see this? I mean, yeah, I didn't.
But what's crazy is there's nobody on the entire platform to call him out. Nobody. They've all been banned.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, Destiny should be unbanned so we can call me out is a crazy take.
I said there's no dissenting voices, and he said Destiny should be unbanned is a crazy take. At what point did I say that? He's drilling into his audience brain already, trying to draw this association.
Okay, Ethan, what other like streamers have been banned that have been calling out Hasan? Like, there's really only one person there. Like, I didn't think Ethan was talking about Destiny in the moment, but how is he getting all pissy that Hasan jumped to that conclusion? There's really no one else. Except for me, of course, on Twitch and YouTube. But okay, like Ethan's talking about guys that are like 90% Hasan's positions, but will call out Hasan. First of all, calling people out is kind of stupid. Like, that's what I'm doing. It's just drama baiting. It's not really good at affecting any change in the world and getting anything real done or like changing people's minds. Like, what's the goal here? What's the goal? The goal of you calling out Hasan isn't going to reduce anti-Semitism. First of all, I highly doubt you're actually experiencing any anti-Semitism. If you were, you'd be posting it. What you're talking about is people saying that Yemenis guy that Hasan interviewed is like the tweet that he made is fake, and that's what you're bringing up. So I'm sorry, I do not really care that you're like I don't think you're experiencing anti-Semitism. And yeah, calling out Hasan is just to make yourself feel good. It's not actually going to do anything else. So why would like a streamer that agrees with 90% of what he says call him out, other than try to start some beef and like get some more views? It's just kind of a stupid thing for Ethan to do. And like, he's calling Hasan out himself. He has a platform of almost 3 million subscribers. Why does he? I guess he just wants like more diversity of thought on Twitch. It's kind of strange to me.
Between Destiny, knowing that his fan base hates Destiny as a way to poison the well against me. There has been I've mentioned Destiny on my channel over the last 10 years, maybe once.
I don't recognize Ethan any longer. I'll be honest. Like who would call me out? Like right-wing shitheads? Like, what do you mean?
Well, I'm not a right-wing shithead. I'm a liberal progressive who basically had some criticism for some of the stuff you've been doing, but mostly agrees with everything you believe in. Not everybody that disagrees with you is a right-wing shithead. And that's part of the issue that we're having here. This is, once again, he's trying to put me in the bucket with right-wing shitheads.
Not only that, but I do get fucking yelled at all the time. Who do you want? Like some fucking weirdo Nazi? Like who?
Once again, implying that I want Nazis on the platform. Literally all I said is that there's no dissenting voices on Twitch, and he's building a fantasy world in which I'm a right-wing shithead that wants Nazis on the platform to criticize him.
Okay, just someone who agrees with 90% of what Hasan says would not really be considered a dissenting voice. Like, that's... You can't just like stay on Hasan's stream all day and nitpick what he's talking about. Oh, you can't just be like, yep, Like, Ethan, what are you talking about, my man? There are people on Twitch that cover Hasan. I assume. I don't know. Like, who cares? You're covering him. Why do you need people on Twitch to do it? He's just trying to like make the point that Twitch is causing anti-Semitism, and he's doing it in like the stupidest way because he doesn't really have anything.
There's only one guy I think he means, and that's Destiny, which is crazy.
Yeah, and that's true. Like, that's a very fair conclusion from Hasan. Destiny is a huge political Twitch streamer that would regularly like hate watch Hasan. He still does regularly do that on YouTube. That's kind of the natural conclusion you would lead to if Destiny's like, get like a liberal guy, Destiny supports Kamala Harris, on Twitch that agrees partially with Hasan but would call him out. So, and I know Ethan didn't mean that when he was talking about it. He's just like throwing out stupid things that he's saying. But that's not a silly conclusion to draw from what Ethan's talking about. So I don't, let's see, is there anything else?
To being Steven Crowder.
points from. I know. I hear it all the time from his pathetic fucking fans that come in here and hit me with it every single fucking day. The real reason why I don't want to fucking watch these videos is because I don't want to like lean into the fucking mania that he is expressing every single damn day.
I genuinely have no idea what he's talking about. Presumably, he's once again trying to tie me with Destiny, but I really don't even know. I don't know what's happening here. All I know is he's not responding to any of the points I made.
Because I think it's utterly irrelevant in the grander point that Israel is committing a fucking genocide.
I mean, can you believe that leap in logic? Part of me saying that I think he's doing anti-American propaganda. And what he immediately does is he takes that and he associates me immediately and directly with, like, who did he say? Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Steven Crowder. I mean, these are all people that I despise, who have openly criticized, who I think are just a blight on this country. And once again, because I disagree with him on some issues, now I'm basically Tucker Carlson. I mean, can you believe that leap in logic?
And now your favorite, Destiny, a person who has literally told me to go back to my own country, okay? A person who has fantasized about executing me.
That's terrible. I've never said that. I didn't talk about Destiny. Why are you talking about Destiny when I've articulated points that are very easy to digest and respond to? But he's going on about how Destiny told him to get out of the country and Destiny fantasized about murdering him. And I'm saying, well, that's all terrible.
Anyway, Ethan talks about like articulating points that are easily digestible and easy to respond to. That's bullshit. Like, he hasn't really done anything of the sort. All of his points are extremely convoluted and come from a place of like deeply held emotion. And he's kind of like patchworked together a bunch of different pieces of evidence to point towards a general conspiracy that Hasan has been launching anti-Semitic attacks against him. You can realize that his points aren't succinct because in this video he keeps referring to my points, but he never actually brings his points up. And then last thing on this video, Ethan Klein talks about how, oh, why are you comparing me to Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson? Well, that's because you're saying things that they're saying. When we're in a period where a country is waging genocide against another country, and then we're going to be talking about how the aggressors of that genocide are experiencing hatred, that is something that these white supremacist, fascist fucks are talking about. They're not talking about how the Palestinians are suffering. They're talking about how the people that are genociding the Palestinians are suffering, and that's what Ethan is doing to a T. So in this regard, the comparison between Steven Crowder and Ethan Klein are apt. And I will say that Ethan Klein is less bad than those guys because he doesn't dehumanize the Palestinians forthright. He just does so in a casual way, in a casual dismissive way, where he won't really talk about them or refer to any of the like atrocities that have befallen them. And I'm gonna close this up. I just want to, okay, I guess one more thing on this video. So Ethan Klein, he's like been on a comment shutting off streak. So we have this video has its comments shut off. This video has its comments shut off, and the live chat was shut off as well. That's Hasan. If we go to his YouTube channel, so we have this, Twitch has a major problem where he's talking about Dan Clancy, the Twitch CEO, and he shut off the comments there. So you can just see like everything YouTube related or everything Israel related, he has comments shut off for.
Trans people are, mutable.
Wow, blonde Ethan, my nightmare monster.
Like just through the window or something. Or now that
what
we're
is
in.
happening? Did I click something? So comments shut off on a lot of things, but you can see that people come on to his most recent video, which was a year ago, and they're commenting. So we have like 13-hour-old comments on like a year-old video, and these are obviously from people talking about his newest video. So we can just read this. If I can't call you incompetent, then you must be malicious, bro. In his newest video, comments off. That's why I'm here. Ethan has completely lost it. We've lost him. These were good times here. We can't have anything nice. Any other recent comments? 13 hours ago. Remember how Trisha begged you to stop and you wouldn't. Remember how she told you when she was on Frenemies that your fans are insane and going after her, and she begged you to put a message out. Remember how you told her to kick rocks? How does it feel? Turn on your comments. So yeah, people comment, bro, you need to talk to people in real life. Hey, that's probably my favorite comment that I've read all day. Anyway, I'm not going to really read through these comments. I just wanted to make that observation. And then you can also see here how Ethan hasn't posted anything on on Instagram for like a year. And these people are posting like 3 minutes ago. The way you spoke about Aaron Bushnell was disgusting and disgraceful. I've been an H3 fan and Hasan fan for years. I watched damn near every H3 podcast episode. I cannot say that anything Ethan has said was unreasonable or hateful. That's just like a reply of support. Slay King, I love you. You're loved. Just saw another baby with its skull caved in from Israeli bombs. Do you care, or is using your platform to incite more harassment towards small Twitch streamers more important? That is interesting. Anyway, so just again, like Ethan's shutting off comments, people are just posting. And I just want to go through his Instagram stories. How do I start over from the beginning? Another Ethan Klein video is about to drop about an urgent matter, so that was the one that we saw. Can I zoom in on this? What the heck? If you are on the left and you can't understand why these people were suspended, you are hopelessly lost. Oh my god, I hate Instagram so much. Alright, what is it? Okay, let me pause this. So if you are on the left and you can't understand why these people were suspended, you are hopelessly lost. Yes, I'm on the left, look like giant fucking hypocrites when we look the other way when our own are being racist bigots. Call it out, learn from it, or your movement will atrophy and cannibalize itself until it's dead. So that's kind of funny. He's saying like, I'm on the left too, and then he says, but your movement will atrophy itself. I'm just gonna say, like, if you're being racist, you're not on the left. Like, that's almost a definition of being on the left. So these people were doing like the Arab stuff. I think I broke that down pretty clearly. Like, it's a self-writing bottle. That tier list. Sure, you can say it's like edgy humor. That's kind of all humor that has to do with ethnicity. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I don't really care if they got suspended. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, this is interesting. Chat log between mods and channel owner of Sam Cedar's Minority Report. Don't know what he means by that, Minority Report instead of Majority Report. It's honestly sad seeing how captured they are, absolutely incapable of listening. The left is really in danger where this is the norm. If you are an inch to the right of them, you are a fascist. Such a losing ideology of exclusion and aggression. I don't know, Ethan, like, be a little bit more specific. You're just kind of, this is like toilet posting, basically. Like, he's on the toilet screenshotting, captioning things. So let's just read some of these. Ethan brain got broken and he needs to take a vacation. True, he does need a vacation. When Holocaust trauma is leveraged over war crimes, you get a response like Ethan Klein's. Fuck all genocide deniers, death marches in northern Gaza now. World would be a better place. Ethan Klein has always had bad judgment. I don't know if that's true. Why is Ethan platforming an IDF terrorist? Does Ethan condemn Hila Klein using starvation as a weapon? Destiny feigned progressive leftist shit for a real short while. I don't care if Ethan said he hates Bibi or whatever, calling Hasan pro-terror is a heinous smear. Does Sam know someone in his crew is typing this shit out under his name, or it's Sam, which I doubt? Why don't you talk to him, Ethan? The H3 Hasan drama is so nuts because, to my knowledge, Ethan... Oh, yeah. This one's crazy to me. So Ethan says pretty much this, so he's endorsing this. The H3 Hasan drama is so nuts because, to my knowledge, Ethan has already conceded so much. Palestinians deserve a state. Israel has gone too far. Netanyahu's evil, etc., etc. And all he asks them to do is stop cheering on terrorist groups and calling his wife a murderer. Ethan says pretty much. So that's like a very telling thing because is it conceding a lot to say Palestinians deserve a state, or i.e. to not be murdered? That doesn't seem like a concession to me. That seems like a starting point. So that is kind of concerning. So this is from the viewpoint of someone who was brainwashed in Israel. And I know Ethan Klein lived in Israel. He married an Israeli woman. He's an Israeli citizen. He's brainwashed, man. And so, like, I guess in the sense that he's, like, fighting out of his brainwashing. But, again, if you're going to call yourself a leftist, this is a fucking starting point. And I don't even think it's, like, the correct position. Palestinians deserve a state. Israel has gone too far. It's like, this was their goal for the past, like, 50, 60, 70 years. This has been their goal ever since they were established. And then Ethan's like co-signing this. So it's very indicative of Ethan Klein's personal positions on this. And again, he's like separating himself from leftists, and he's acting like he needs to appease leftists. Oh, I need to concede the Palestinians deserve a state. It's pretty gross rhetoric. And the fact that Ethan says pretty much like concede the Palestinians deserve a state, that's something that's going to look back. That's something that's going to be looked back on as like very disgusting. Like, imagine if you were talking about Jews in Nazi Germany and saying that, oh, I've already conceded so much. The fact that Jews probably should, be able to not even live in German society, but have their own state outside of German society. Oh, well, I know we don't want any of the Jews in Germany, but let's like make a sub-Germany for them, like Liechtenstein. Oh, the Jews probably deserve their own state. I'll concede that. Like, it's gross. Maybe don't do a tier list that has Arab. Okay, so what is this? So this is just Ethan posting. Like, I like this toilet posting from him. Imagine if they just said, prob a bad idea to tell vets to get PTSD. So they said, that was Frogan, that was one person mischaracterizing it. Or maybe don't do a tier list that has Arab on top and Sabra on bottom. I mean, it's people that like Sabra hummus on bottom. Instead of calling me a Nazi. So Zionist on bottom, someone who, Arab on top is someone that doesn't believe Arabs have a right to exist on bottom. Is that a little bit better? Instead of calling me a Nazi. Did they call you a Nazi, Ethan? I think they called you a Zionist. It would be so nice to see one flake or accountability. I think that's of accountability. Insane what happens when you speak out against anti-Semitism. This is all from the left. How do you know that? Crazy. They're leaving it on a 6-month-old Instagram post. Well, that's because you're not letting people comment on your regular posts. Can we agree this is not normal? I think it's kind of normal. If you're a progressive voice and then you say some unprogressive things, I think it's normal to get comments about it. All right, let's listen to this.
A video of me in the bathroom pretending to use a plunger.
Oh, yeah. All right, anyway, so that's everything that I have to cover for today. Ethan's definitely going off the deep end. How can this be fixed? Well, I think, like, talking to someone, not a Jew, not anything like that, but, like, someone who can kind of walk him through the position of Zionism, anti-Semitism, and explain their connections to him. I don't think Hasan is, like, the perfect voice to do this. I think that Hasan is kind of averse to personal confrontations. Like, Jesus, it's kind of awkward in interviews if you've ever seen him do an interview. So I think that Hasan's not the perfect person to do it. I think Sam Cedar would be good, or a historian. Like, maybe get honestly, Ta-Nehisi Coates would be a super interesting podcast guest. But basically, Ethan needs to get out more, and he does need to have a shift into perspective. Like, just the fact that Israel and Palestinians both weren't able to sign up for Twitch, and then he says that the CEO is anti-Semitic because of that, is like a pretty clear indicator of his headspace at the moment. And I don't know. I think that, yeah, he needs to talk to someone that can actually educate him, because right now he's in this vicious cycle where he's just talking about the comments that he's getting that are criticizing him, and that's causing more comments to come in that are criticizing him. And he's talking about Hasan, like, interviewing people that he doesn't like, and then Hasan responds to that without actually watching the videos, because why would he? Like, Ethan's just basically using it as like an emotional vomit diary right now. So like, why would Hasan watch that? And then Ethan gets mad because he doesn't watch it, and Ethan doesn't feel like he's being valued by the left or by his ex-friends. And it does kind of remind me of like a toddler getting a tantrum when Hasan's like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. Could you please just like talk to Sam Cedar? I feel like he could handle these issues better than me. And then Ethan's like, why? Is it because he's a Jew and I'm a Jew? I don't wanna. Why can't you just listen to my videos? And I know I'm like kind of making him seem like a baby, but that's pretty accurate to what he did do in his podcast. So yeah, I think talk to Sam Cedar, talk to pretty much anyone at this point. Talk to anyone, man, that has like an even rudimentary understanding. Get Norman Finkelstein on, get Ta-Nehisi Coates on. This would be a great opportunity to, I think that if Ethan Klein gets on some people that are actually scholars about this issue, that would be a great step forward in mending the bridges that he has just like completely destroyed between himself and a lot of the other online left community. And the reason I say that is because I think it could bring himself a better understanding of the issue and how people are viewing him and like the current dynamics between Israel and Palestine. So he would have a better understanding of it, and it would be a great way to introduce a deeper understanding of these issues to his audience as well. And I know his audience, they're liberals. They don't really have a good understanding of like the power dynamics at play. Just browsing through his Reddit, it's a lot of both sides. Well, Israel's done bad stuff, Palestine's done bad stuff, but there's good people on both sides, right? Like, it's even. So why can't we talk about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia at the same time? That's kind of like the general vibe. And then also just like a lot of like, oh, you're such a brave warrior for talking about your emotions. So it's a lot of hug boxing. It's a lot of both sidesing in Ethan's audience right now. If it's not the people just straight up criticizing Ethan, I feel like he has driven away a lot of the people that have been criticizing him. That's always kind of sad to see. That's kind of, I think that's the mark of someone on the decline, if you're not willing to engage in criticism. And you'd rather just like deride the criticism or ban or block or shut off comments, shut off avenues of criticism rather than engaging with it in good faith. And that's kind of why I'm trying to come into this more good faith, so that if an Ethan Klein like supporter watches this, they might have a bit of a better understanding of where people that are criticizing him are coming from. So again, Norman Finkelstein, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Sam Cedar is great on this, Emma Vigeland. I know he hates Vosh, but I think Vosh would be really good to talk with too. Mehdi Hasan, just someone that you can sit down with, have a conversation with for an hour and educate yourself and your audience, because you are sorely needing an education. And I know he's been brainwashed and he's working through the brainwashing, but it's not all gone. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope I don't have to do a part 3 to this, but if I do, I hope that it's a step in a direction towards conciliation between Ethan and Hasan, because they're fun together. And I know they both have like their issues where they're a little bit weird on politics. But yeah, they're fun together, and on the whole, I'd say they're good guys. Ethan's just being like very weird in this one regard. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.